Well, it's certainly kind of rare that I actually see one of these units branded as a Funai. Most of the ones I see are branded as Magnavox units. Now this one says it is a ZV427FX4A. Pretty similar to the Magnavox ZV427MG9As, but just a little bit of difference. Maybe the manufacturer made some small changes, but anyhow, it looks just exactly like the Magnavox versions on the back. Same HDMI input, no antenna input whatsoever. That would be the 457 that has the antenna input. Right off the bat, I see it is missing a screw. All the rest of them appear to be there. So let's go ahead and dive into this thing. I'll pop the top on it and we'll see what it does. All right, so the first thing I want to do is go ahead and pop in a DVD. And we'll see if it's going to go ahead and play back the DVD. So I'm going to go ahead and close the drawer. It did make the beeps that I want to hear. Okay, so it did actually load the DVD perfectly fine. So I'll go ahead and hit play, and it actually plays the DVD absolutely perfectly. So next, let's go ahead and check out the VCR and see if the VCR is going to accept a tape and play a tape. Okay, so I've got a tape ready to go. I do have it in the VCR mode. Let's go ahead and pop it in. So depending on what happens, I'm going to be able to tell a lot as to what's going on with this unit. So it does load the tape. That's good. Cylinder runs. That's excellent. And then it loads partially. I do see the loading motor trying to turn right here, but it's not loading any farther. So I'm wondering if mechanically we got something jamming up. Let's go ahead and power it back up. It should try to unload now. And it does, and it ejects the tape, and it didn't eat the tape. That's totally awesome. So I'm wondering if the belt is just glazed. The belt feels perfectly fine over here, so let's go ahead and try it again. No, it's getting stuck on something. Maybe I can help it. Let's try it one more time. All right, I'm going to help the loading post load this time. Oh no, it's pulling the tape really tight. But there it actually loaded. So maybe a brake issue? So I'm going to go ahead and trick this unit into thinking that it has a tape in it. And the way you do that is to add some black electrical tape. You can see some tape right here to cover the sensor on this side, and you can see some black tape right here to cover the sensor on this side. So next I'm just going to go ahead and trick it by pushing this latch right here forward. There we go. Man, it's having a lot of trouble pulling out that tape. So it thinks the tape is playing right now. And then it stopped because I believe it didn't detect real rotation. So if I power it up, it's probably going to try to reject the fake tape, and it did. So what I'm seeing is it needs some lube. These things are dry as a bone. I wonder if they forgot to lube it at the factory, because it should be able to pull the tape out of here no problem. This side is absolutely locked. Maybe the brake right here is not releasing. So I have this thing partially loaded by hand, and I'm wondering what direction I need to go, because it appears that it's going to be able to pay off the tape no problem. There's not much of a drag on this back tension band. But if I check this tape guide, I can really move it freely. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of slop, but it does move very freely. Now this one on this side, it's really bound up. So I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and pull the mechanism out of this and find out why this thing is bound up so bad. Is it just a bad tape guide? Is something out of adjustment? I mean, these things are just like cast plastic. They should have a little bit of play, like this one does. I mean, I can move it very freely. This one, I mean, it moves side to side, but I can't I can't move it forward and backwards, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and tear this thing apart and pull the mechanism out of it completely. I'll need to unsolder all the ribbon cables, including the capstan ribbon cable, and then we should be able to get access to the bottom of it and see what might be going on. Alright, so I have the mechanism out of the unit. I'm going to try to load it by hand now. I'm just turning the loading belt. And it's really struggling and jumping. No, that's not time-lapse. It's actually jumping as it loads. So let me load it back here to the middle area. And then I just want to go ahead and check the play right here. This one's moving absolutely flawless. This one is really hard to move, so I'm wondering what's going on. So let's go ahead and unload it completely. And what I'm seeing is a lot of rubbing on this side right here, and it actually looks like if I lay my screwdriver flat right here, this side is much lower than this side is. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to bend it a little bit just with a screwdriver. Oh, that's much better. Okay, let's try to load it again, see what happens. Oh, look at that. Absolutely perfect now. It loads just like it should. Let's go ahead and unload it. I'm doing this all by hand, so it might get jumpy. This is where it was having most of the problem, so I want to make sure. Oh, look at that. It's moving absolutely freely now. It wouldn't do that before. Oh, that's perfect. I wonder if this thing could have been dropped at some point in its life. Maybe when it was brand new. Hard to say, but now if I go ahead and I lay my screwdriver flat, it goes right over it, no problem. No problem whatsoever. And you can actually see how it's been scraping for many, many years of its life. So it might have been just a shipping defect. Let's load it up one more time. It should have some spring tension right there. And it does, so it should be completely loaded now. I should be able to push these back with just the slightest amount of force. They go back up into their loading positions respectively. Well, that looks absolutely perfect. So I'm thinking it just might have got a little bit of damage, because if you look at this side of the rail, no marks whatsoever. This side over here, definitely been scraping. This side perfect, this side perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of white lithium grease to the tracks on the bottom and on the top, just to make sure they're lubricated good. So I do have a cotton swab and I have some white lithium grease on here. I'm just going to dab it on the loading tracks. Okay, I think that's good. So while I have the unit apart, let's go ahead and clean the mode select switch, because that is a common failure point of these units. Okay, this one should be quite easy to do because I have the mechanism completely out of the unit. You can actually get a great up-close view of me cleaning the mode select switch. Start by just lifting off the tab, just like that. And actually, that one looks pretty good. I've seen much, much worse. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it a quick wipe out. We'll give it a quick wipe down, and man, that thing looks excellent. I can't believe the shape this thing is in. I'll get my stainless toothbrush. Now, people have asked me, where can I get a stainless toothbrush? Well, I was at Harbor Freight the other day, and they have stainless, brass, and plastic nylon toothbrushes available. So let's just go ahead. I'm going to hold the board down right here. And I just want to scuff up the surfaces. Now, I do believe that a scuffed up surface actually helps clean the contacts, because every time it moves, it's going to help just basically get a new surface. You don't want it perfectly smooth, because smooth isn't going to scuff up the contacts in this thing. And so I like to give it a good scrub. Then we'll clean it with some magical solution acetone, which will not eat this plastic in these units. So I have a cotton swab soaked with acetone. Now, if you're doing a Samsung unit, it will eat the plastic. It's a different type of plastic on the Samsung versus the Funai Symphonic units. So take a look at that. Man, that thing looks like it is brand new the day it left the factory. So next, I'm going to go ahead and add some silicone dielectric grease. You can pick this up at almost any auto parts store, maybe even a local hardware store will have silicone dielectric grease. The goal of this grease is just to cover the contacts and not allow air to tarnish that silver-plated contact. And normally it does go down in the center. I'm not really worried about that. It's going to be just fine. Let's go ahead and clean the movable portion right now. And we'll do that virtually the same way. I'm just going to go ahead and drag my toothbrush in one direction only, if I can get this thing held in my hand correctly, just to clean off the contacts. And I'll take my acetone swab and wipe it. Then the dry end, wipe it again. Then I just want to go ahead and dab some silicone dielectric grease on the contacts themselves. That should be good. Next, we'll go ahead and just snap the pieces back together. Just like that. And make sure you run it around a few times to distribute the grease correctly. Make sure that when you finish up that you line up this post with that dot right there. And now, because the mechanism is not in the home position, I'm going to have to manually eject the mechanism and make sure that the hole in the loading gear is lined up with the post at exactly 0 degrees, just like this. So this is what I'm talking about. This hole needs to be exactly straight on. It's off just a few degrees to the side, so I'm just going to go ahead and move it until it is absolutely perfectly straight with the loading pin right here. So these two have to be in line so the mode select switch can snap in there correctly. Okay, and since I have the unit apart, now is the perfect time to go ahead and clean the prism, the real rotation detector. As you can see right here, this little slot actually shows when the reel is rotating by making and breaking that beam of light. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean the input right here. This is where the infrared emitter lives. And this is just a standard cotton swab moistened with regular household glass cleaner. And I'm going to have to peel some of this off. So I'm just going to go ahead and give this one a clean as well. This is the return on the reel rotation sensor. Then give it a dry. And next we'll go ahead and clean the actual infrared emitter and detector on the main board as well. Okay, so once again, just a cotton swab moistened with regular household glass cleaner, nothing with ammonia. Ammonia sometimes is strong against these items, so we'll just go ahead and wipe those off. We'll give them a dry off with the dry end. And we should be good at this point. Let's go ahead and wipe off the take-up and supply sensors as well. So there is the supply sensor. It sits up just a couple of inches off the main board. We'll wipe that off. dry it as well. This is the infrared detector LED. And then the same thing on the other side. We'll go ahead and wipe that off with the moistened end. And dry it with the dry end. Now we can go ahead and reassemble the mechanism and give this thing a test, and hopefully everything is good at this point. Okay, I know I've talked about this before, but the machine thread screw, this one with the fine threads, goes over here on the right side of the chassis into the metal. And the plastic thread screw, the one that is very coarse, goes over here on the left side underneath the ribbon cable. Very easy for me to show it to you because I have the ribbon cable completely unsoldered at this point. So let's go ahead and resolder all the ribbon cables right now. Okay, there we go. That is the main one, the capstan motor, cylinder motor, and loading motor ribbon cable. So I just wanted to go ahead and do an ohm check just to make sure I don't have any shorts on this ribbon cable because they are so close together. So first I'm going to just go ahead and have a short. No shorts. No shorts. And everything checks fine. So let's go ahead and throw it back together. But I think before I put it back together, I want to go ahead and change that problematic cap in the power supply that always gives me problems. That 4700 at 6.3 volts. I'm just going to go ahead and do it as a preventative measure, just so I don't have problems in the future. So first, let's go ahead and check lead integrity. I'll show you the ESR of the old cap versus the new cap I'm going to put in. So I've got 0.03 on the old cap. The new cap should be about 0.01 or 0.02, so it is a lower ESR. Plus, this new one is a good high quality 4700 microfarad 105C name brand capacitor. I think this is a Nichicon or Panasonic. The old one is a Suscon. Had a lot of problems with Suscon caps in the past. And it's only rated at 85 degrees Celsius. So let's get a good cap in this thing so it will last. All right, there we go. Good power supply cap installed. Let's go ahead and throw this thing back together and hopefully we get better results. All right, unit is all back together. Let's go ahead and pop a tape into it. See if it'll load this time. It loads just fine. Let's go ahead and check fast forward and rewind. This is going to test the real rotation sensor. And it shut down. Oh my gosh. There is still a problem with this thing. Power up, it should eject it because it knows there is a problem. But the tape does actually load. What about in play? And it still shuts down. Oh my gosh. What is going on with this thing? Okay, so I know I cleaned the bottom side of the prism, the entrance and exit. But let's just go ahead and wipe off this area right here, because if any crud accumulates right there, it can actually diffuse the light coming out. It's supposed to be reflective right there, so we'll go ahead and wipe off the middle of the prism. And I have the dry end right here. We'll go ahead and dry it off. Now let's go ahead and pop a tape back into it and see if it does any better. Okay, so I've already serviced the entire chassis. I've cleaned the heads, the capstan, the tape guides, everything, the audio control erase head, the full erase head, the back tension arm, the take-up guide. Everything's been done already, so I'm not going to show that again. But okay, so after cleaning, let's go ahead and pop a tape into it, and we'll immediately go into fast forward and see if it shuts down, because it shuts down much quicker in fast forward than in play. So I'm going to stop it and just go to fast forward. And it normally would stop within about 3 or 4 seconds if it detected a real rotation issue. And it's working absolutely perfectly. Rewind it that same distance. So remember, if you have crud on the outside of the prism, it can actually cause the unit to shut down because it's going to diffuse the light to the real rotation sensor. Now I know the infrared LED is working fine because that's what it uses to accept the tape. If the infrared emitter was the problem, it wouldn't actually take a tape because it uses the take-up sensor right here to detect whether you put a tape in it. It just simply blocks that eye. And it's working absolutely perfect. Let's go ahead and hit play. If it plays more than about 7 seconds, I would say we have a solid fix, at least on the VCR portion. I still need to go ahead and tear this unit apart and go ahead and check the DVD caps on the DVD recorder board. But everything points to everything is going to work absolutely fine. So I have it playing. I have a picture on the screen. I'm not showing you the monitor, but I do have an actual picture on my video monitor at this point. So let's go ahead and tear the DVD player apart. I'll flip the board over without disconnecting the laser. Remember, you don't want to disconnect the laser if you don't have to, because that can create electrostatic discharge on the optical pickup on the laser diode itself. Okay, so even if I don't find any bad caps, I will at a minimum go ahead and clean the DVD optical pickup and get this thing ready to ship back to my customer. So let's go ahead and ESR these caps real quick on this board and see how they fare. Okay, here we go. So a 330 at 6 volts. I'd like to see about a half an ohm or less, and I see 0.6. That's probably okay. 47, 1.4 ohms, not too terribly bad. 0.23 ohms, that's perfectly fine. 1.3, I'll give that one a go. 0.48, perfectly fine. 0.24, even better. 0.19, that one is excellent. 0.6, I am okay with 0.6 on a surface mount. 0.19, perfectly fine. This is the cap I've had problems with. I don't want to see more than about 2 or 3 ohms on this thing. And I see 1.4, that is excellent. 1.5, perfectly fine. Wow, 0.3 ohms, that is great. And 1.7, a little bit high, but not out of the ballpark. And 1 ohm, that's perfectly fine. About 0.2 ohms, I'm perfectly good with that. 0.3 ohms, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm thinking it's time for a new battery in this thing. 0.2 ohms, perfectly fine. And 1.3 ohms, great. 1.2 ohms, great. And about 1.3 ohms. Yeah, I'm thinking this thing needs a new battery at this point. It's not giving me a low battery indication yet, but just based on what I'm seeing and the caps jumping around, it's going to need a new battery very soon. So I'm perfectly happy with all the capacitors on this DVD board. Let's go ahead and clean the optical pickup real quick, and then I will do a DVD recording test, and we'll put this thing back together and ship it back to my customer. Well, the optical pickup does not look too terribly bad, but let me go ahead and get a light on it here. And it definitely does have some fuzz on it, so let's go ahead and wipe that off with a regular cotton swab, moistened, not soaked, with regular household glass cleaner. Nothing with ammonia, because ammonia can strip the optical coating that is on this lens. Once again, just moistened with glass cleaner, not soaked. You don't want it to run down inside. And you want to use circular motions. And I am rotating the cotton swab as I wipe the lens off. And the same thing when I dry it. I'm going to go ahead and rotate the cotton swab and use circular motions once again. And now we'll go ahead and take a peek at it again with the LED light. And I would say that's much, much better than it was before. Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead and try the capture device one more time and see if it's going to work. I've got a VHS tape. I'm going to pop it in the unit here. And we'll hit play.
Pursuit like this?
Well, you know what? It's interesting because
so there it is. That is a VHS tape playing. An old police chase back from the 90s.
30 to 40 minutes at the most.
Next, I go ahead and pop a DVD in this unit that I recorded on this unit. It's a 6-hour DVD. So let's go ahead and close the drawer. I'll switch it over to the DVD mode. And we'll see if it's going to load the DVD correctly. And it did load it successfully. There's a couple tracks on it because the tape I used to copy had a dead spot in the middle. So the DVD actually stopped recording. So we'll go ahead and hit play on the first one. And there it is, up and playing. An old TV show from like 1986 that I recorded. Anyhow, it's up and running. Everything's good. Let's go ahead and skip to a commercial so there's no copyright content. Okay, well here is a tape that I recorded many, many years ago that I copied over to DVD on this unit, and it's playing absolutely perfectly. So that's it. The FUNai ZV427FX4A. I certainly hope you enjoyed the repair on the FUNai DVD VCR combo. Go ahead and leave me a question, a comment, a concern down below. I try to respond to the comments when I have time. While you're down there, hit that subscribe button and like this video. It really does help my channel grow. You can follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at NorCal715. You can email me, norcal715videos@gmail.com. That is the best way to contact me. Be patient. I do have a full-time job, and I respond when I have time. Remember, with your help, we can try to keep these things out of the landfill, out of the recycle bin, and out of the e-waste facility. Everybody, thank you for making it to the end of this video. I really do appreciate it. Everyone have a great day. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.
You know, within only months, this could be you, a highly trained automotive mechanic. All it takes to begin is a phone call to Sequoia Automotive and Diesel Institute. You'll learn the hands-on way from experienced instructors. Sequoia has the latest shop equipment, all in a gigantic 66,000 square foot facility. Turn your mechanical know-how into real job skill competence. Call Sequoia Automotive and Diesel Institute, 490-6900.